What's up, Miniatures Paintbrush Legion? This is Rob, your host, and welcome to Propainted. So often, we as miniature painters are scrolling through the interwebs for inspiration, and we come across a piece that truly impresses us, and we show it to others and joke how we're gonna break our brushes because of the amazing work that was done, and then we move on. But who are the people behind the beautiful artwork? Well, this is why I created this series, to honor those people behind the art. Today we travel to Austria, where we meet up with 14-time Golden Demon winner and very accomplished YouTuber, Troverion. Let's get to it. All right, welcome TMP fans. We are here with Troverion, the star, the man, the myth, the legend, Troverion. As far as I know, the most winningest painter in the world, and an inspiration to everybody who he encounters. He teaches online. His models are absolutely gorgeous. The talent that he's cultivated over years and years and years of practice really does shine through. And he shares all his talents and abilities with each and every one of us. He's truly an amazing person, but I cannot do justice on an introduction such as this. If you, sir, were introducing yourself to someone, how would you introduce yourself to someone?
First of all, thanks for having me on and singing my praises. Like I always say, I don't do well with praise. It's not like, I'm doing it for publicity or for being out there or anything like that. I'm always super uncomfortable in front of the camera. And I just want to share my passion and inspire people, hopefully. I don't care about much else. Like, I don't want to be in the spotlight or be praised, or I even stopped like trying to compete in competitions because it's just not my. I don't have that ego, right? So I'm not never doing well with someone singing my praises like that. But thanks a lot for doing so. That's basically the introduction, right? I just try to make videos that people enjoy and hopefully learn something from. So I can basically do what I want to do for a living, which is painting miniatures. And I'm super happy and thankful that people allow me to do that, basically.
Yeah, so Troverion actually, he was a teacher, like I am a teacher now, and that is the dream. I mean, really, if your passion is to paint miniatures, to do that full time, and you made the jump, you made the leap, and that is absolutely amazing. Did you always know that you wanted to be a miniature painter? How did you start?
I told the story 100 times, so I'm gonna make it short. I got exposed to what is miniatures um, almost like 20, a bit more than 20 years ago. I've been painting like these, or I've been playing a game with pre-painted miniatures, and eventually I thought, okay, that doesn't look too good. I think I can do that better. And I just started dry brushing my miniatures. I don't know if you know the game system. It was called Mage Knight. It's kind of similar to HeroClix. It might be more popular, which it has dials uh, as a base, and if you take damage, if you take 3 damage, you make 3 clicks, and then your stats change, so your damage becomes less as you get wounded and so on. But yeah, they came pre-painted, and I just saw them in a hobby store, and I bought them and I was playing with them, and eventually I thought, okay, I think I can do this better. And then I got hooked on, painting, just, starting with very basic techniques, and then eventually just really enjoying this and wanting to put more time into this and more research, and kind of realizing it's fun, and just expanding on that slowly. And then there was a progression.
Absolutely. You mean you weren't automatically award winning from day one? That's some people
No,
think that.
Yeah, the it's a good point to touch on, right? So whatever you see out there, or people put out there an is an investment of years or decades most of the time. In fact, I would say for the first 10 years of my painting, I didn't like any of my results. Not even the competition winners. I always felt like, okay, I can do so much better. Yeah, so in a nutshell, I did not like what I produced during the first 10 years. And I think that's kind of telling. Um,
Well, Well, it is the MO of an artist. Artists can only see their mistakes. They only see what they can improve upon. While everyone else is like, "Wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen," and then in your mind you're saying, "Yeah, but I could have done the shading better. There's no second source lighting. There's no realism in there. I could have pushed the highlights on that bar." And that's where our brains go, because when we're painting, that's all we're doing. That we're just focusing on, well, what areas need I touch up? How can I do this better? I mean, I sometimes I have to walk away from the paint desk, and then the next day I take it and I wake up in the morning and I'll put the miniature by my bedside, and I'll wake up and I'm like, okay, what did I miss? What did I do? What can I push? How can I do this? And then I'll get some ideas, write some notes, put it on the side, go teach, come back, and be like, okay, I'm going to attack this. So I guess we train our brains for that. But okay, so you said, well, first off, do you still have any of those hero clicks that you first painted?
they might be in the bag somewhere in a garage or something like that. Usually not throwing things away.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're probably stored somewhere. I mean, oh wait, actually, I have shown them in a video.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I've
nice.
it was like dragons, and I think I mainly showed the dragons or painted the dragons. They were like humanoid dragons. Yeah, I
Mhm.
still have those, and they're in the video. Yeah, somewhere.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's the teacher in us. We don't throw things away because we can always use them. Like something, we could use them for something.
Yeah, especially if I want to talk about these things, like a development or that you have to invest time and all of that. It's a good idea to show actually how quote unquote bad we were once, right?
Hmm.
Ourselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I have is a 40 a Warhammer 40,000 Space Wolves army that I've been getting better as a painter, and I've been painting better as the miniatures, and it actually shows my progression as a painter. And it's always good to look back from where you came from. One, to not make the same mistakes you made back then, and two, to see how much you've improved. I think nothing demoralizes more than when you see something that's a Richard Gray painting, or something else that's like, fantastic. And then you're like, well, I'm not that good. And you're comparing yourselves to, like you said, decades of practice, especially if you're a beginner and you're practicing. And, it can be demoralizing. And what you really need to do is compare yourself to your past self and see if you've improved. And you keep on moving forward to getting better that way. Sure, you can get inspiration from others, but don't put yourself down just because someone else can paint at a different level because they put in more years than you. I think that's important.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'd say the only thing that matters is how you compare yourself, or how much you improved from yourself yesterday. That's the only thing that counts, because it's not a competition
Mhm.
most of the time, right? It's just your own time that you spend on this. And why would you try to make it miserable for yourself, like beating yourself up? It's the only thing that counts is that you, I mean, definitely get inspiration by others. Like, often when I look at others, I get new ideas, or others' work, I get new ideas. Like, oh, I never thought about that, and how can I incorporate it into my painting, and what do I have to practice to become good at this? That's perfectly fine. But again, like you said, it's others have probably done this a lot longer, and it's not a race, it's not a competition.
Right.
It's just you spending time with your minis and hopefully enjoying them. That's basically what counts.
Now, as artists, we all have our own style. How would you describe your painting style?
I don't know if I have a style. I mean, I probably have simply because there is such a thing as muscle memory, in lack of a better word. But so there's when you watch someone run, it you can see a style of running simply because that's how they develop that skill, and it's gonna be hard to tell someone that ran the same way for 20 years to all of a sudden tell them, you need to move your hips a bit different or elevate your heel a bit more or whatever, right? It's gonna be different. It's gonna take deliberate practice to change that. And it's the same for painting, the way you hold your brush and the way you apply the paint on the miniature and what paints you're using and how you adapt it to these paints is not going to translate to other paints. So there's a, how would you define that? A mechanical
Mhm.
reason for why your miniatures look the way they do, and then there's other reasons. So I think you almost cannot avoid developing a style, but what I think I try to do is constantly change things around so that I don't always paint the same, which isn't always helpful because if you have a it's still a social media world or world where recognizability is a good thing and branding is a good thing and all of that. So it's good to have a style, but I always try to, yeah. Also, it's kind of boring to always paint the same style. So I always
Absolutely.
try to do something new and just if it's like switching one thing around. If I have my grimdark series, if I just do the same thing on every mini, it's gonna be boring. So I tried to switch at least one detail around, and that can be color combination, the way I hold my brush, the way that I apply my chipping, or I just cut the sponge that I use for stippling in a different way. So things like that. Just so yeah. To me, it's a bit boring to always paint the same style.
Yeah. So I can see that you're very technical with your skills and that you would change the technique a little bit each time you do a miniature so you wouldn't have the same style. I know myself, since I paint armies, like I was afraid of painting white. So I painted a white army and I'm still painting it. And it's been 3 years and I am so tired of painting white right now. But I'm almost done with that project. So I can move on to something else, which is black and how to paint black and how to really put the shadows in black and how to put the highlights in black. So that's going to be the next project for me, but I totally get it. As you're growing as a painter, what was the best piece of advice you were given when you were starting out?
Oh, I don't remember these things. It's all a blur. I know it's not good from a teaching standpoint, but everything I did and everything I do, I never do it consciously. It's when I start a new miniature, it's almost like okay, I forgot everything I ever did, and I just start the miniature, and then muscle memory kicks in, and you remember how to apply paint properly and all of that. But it's also the reason people said, you should write a book on painting. But I don't have knowledge structure like that in my brain,
Mm.
especially about painting because it's such a mechanical thing. Or yeah, I mean the thing is I also don't have a theory of how I play soccer, right, or football, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
just do it. Yeah. So
Well, that's
um,
awesome. Yeah. So, and some people say in other interviews, they've said that, sometimes the miniature itself tells you how it needs to be painted and you just follow along with that is, yeah, it's very organic. And, art is very organic. Um, so, um, which of your painted miniatures is your favorite or means the absolute most to you?
yeah, I mean that ties in with that. I don't know. It's I think a combination of not having any ego about my painting and my finished results or whatever, and a combination of when it's done, and then I'll just look forward to painting the next one. And for me, it's more about the process and less about the result. So if I have a good time, in that way, maybe the best time I kind of had was doing the Ever Chosen in 2019 when I placed third in the world.
Hmm.
I mean, just I don't know where I have it. I'm such a visual person. It's if I well once I look at the miniature, all the memories come back, but I don't remember them like just like that. But I spent 6 days on this, and I never felt rushed or in a hurry or whatever. I also didn't feel compelled to touch it up. There was a store competition. You just entered them in your local store, and then if you won that, you technically had a lot of time to repaint it or make it better, and then take the photos.
Hmm.
Like you at least had a week or something like that, and then once you put in the photos, eventually you got picked for top three, and you get notified like way ahead. And I could have spent more time there too, but I didn't. I thought, okay, sure, I could touch up like these gradients, but the story I wanted to tell, the yeah, it was already told. Also, there was no enjoyment I would be taking from it. It would just be work to make it quote unquote better.
Hmm.
Um, so that's basically my point, right? I just try to have fun with the mini, and the mini I have the most fun with is the mini I like the most, regardless of results.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are focused, especially in the wargaming community, on just, painting as a chore, and then they just have to have the models on the thing. And you would have to absolutely have a love of painting and enjoying the process itself to really push yourself. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, then what are you doing, right? It's a hobby. You're supposed to have a passion about that. So that's another thing is you're gonna have to have is a love of actually painting, of seeing your results, and I think that's part of. I guess I call it the dopamine rush. Like you finish something you're proud of, you want to do that again because you want that feeling. It's like, wow, okay, I actually did something I didn't think I could do. I pushed myself in this new technique I never thought that I would be able to have this result in. And I really love this result. And I'm going to practice this result. And I want to do it on several miniatures so this way I can like hone it and become part of my techniques or part of my repertoire. And yeah, it's that whole thing. And if you're not feeling that, you're really going to have a hard time struggling, pushing yourself to the next level because then it'll become a chore. So out of God.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I might be detached from what people are, or the majority of people are doing with painting, but when I finish something that I really like, it stresses me out because for yeah, I told you I'm weird.
That's all right.
Imagine or the times when I was competing in Golden Demons was a weird time because it didn't bring out the best in me. I feel like it made me worse as a person and also worse as a painter because when you finish something that you win gold with on a Golden Demon, you have that adrenaline rush or dopamine rush, like you said, and
Mhm.
you want to repeat it. But I feel like that's with a lot of creatives, especially musicians. Sorry, is it okay to just go on tangents, or do you want to say
Absolutely no. I want to hear
okay?
you, the person. I want your heart to be displayed for
Yeah,
everyone. Everybody needs to know who you are. You're an awesome person, and people should know that. Go.
yeah. We have an Austrian singer back from the '80s, early '90s that you probably know because he had at least one hit in the American charts, which was Falco, obviously, and he was only relevant for like 5 years,
Mhm.
and he was in the business for 20 or 25 or whatever. And he had a few hits, and once he hit that, I think it was Amadeus,
Mhm.
that song, and it was in the American charts or the US charts.
Yeah.
He basically achieved everything he could. How do you go any higher, right? But he
Mhm.
was still chasing that. and he just couldn't replicate it. And I think that kind of ruined him as a creative person or as an artist. And so I think it's a double-edged sword. That's why I try to not have these trying to replicate success. I try to avoid it as much as possible because I know back when I was winning a lot of golden demons, I was so focused on repeating that I lost the enjoyment of painting. So yeah, that's why I cut it out completely
Wow.
as much as possible.
Yeah. Well,
So that's the whole story, or that's why I might be the way that I am. Is part of that is owed to competing in golden demons.
wow. I mean, it's definitely a different perspective. Not that you're weird, you're unique. I know, and I love that because I love different perspectives. Now it is true. I mean, I can imagine. I've never won a golden demon, but I aspire to win a golden demon. But if once you achieve that, yes, you want the rush. But Vince Ventuella, Caleb Wisenbach, and a couple other artists, even Eric Swinson, told me that, you go and to be a part of the show, not to win the competition. You want to win the competition, but painting and judges are subjective. So you could have an absolutely award-winning model in one competition circuit, and you go to the next one and it doesn't win because it all happens to be with the judges, and the judges are looking over so many. So you have you have Rembrandt, and then you have Michelangelo. Which one is better, right? It's all subjective. So they're all amazing, but what do you do? And I can imagine at Golden Demon and other these prestigious awards, Monte and Savino, for example, you have like so many excellent work, and it just comes down to the judge and what they like, and that could change. So never paint for the win. Paint to be part of the show. And that was the takeaway that I've gotten from that. And I think that's humbled me, that advice right there. But I mean, good, please.
There's a couple of concepts in there. So first of all, I think it's a healthy way to approach golden demons. And I think it's difficult to understand unless you won and you experience that whole trying to do better at the next golden demon. If you want, like, say, silver, you want to win gold next, or that trying to replicate your success. If you want gold in that category, you want to repeat that, and you have to see how that changes your outlook on painting. If it doesn't change it, that's perfect. Then just go for it, right? And there's a lot of people that can do that, and just happy to produce or pour 300 hours into the next entry, and they're totally happy with that. That's not me. I don't know all the other people in person. I know them, of course, by name, that you mentioned, but I'm not in that scene as much as I would like to be, simply because I don't go to Golden Demons anymore. But my point is, you have to experience that and then see how it changes you, and what pitfalls there are and all of that, to get to that realization that, yeah, just go there and enjoy the scene, and if you win, that's cool, but if you don't, then don't beat yourself up,
Right.
because that gets me to the next point that is in there. It's a golden demon, and I said that 100 times. It rewards a certain way of painting, and I know they don't like to hear that, but
True.
it's just evident from the way that they describe their judging that they're discarding things by errors, right? So you have to be consistent across the whole miniature, and if there is something off, they discard it and they say, okay, the other one is more consistent. So it doesn't refer to style, so you might have different styles, right? So we should not conflate that, but they discard based on quote unquote errors. And what is an error? It's an inconsistency. So you're boxed into a certain way of painting as far as perfect execution goes. And to me, that's not really the essence of painting. It should not be the essence of painting, in my opinion, because that it's fun to some, but it's probably not fun to most. And that is, you mentioned Monte Sansevino,
Hmm.
not so evident there. You might have completely different styles winning gold medals in the same category. And I think that's good, right? So, like you said, who is better? I didn't know which you mentioned, Rembrandt or.
Michelangelo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
yeah, right,
they're both masters, right?
right,
And
right.
have their, yeah. So, who's better? The one you like better, the one that speaks to you more.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Speaking of achievements, okay, so I have to go do a tally because some people are going to ogle at your success. And I know you don't like to be put on a pedestal, but you've earned it. I mean, you've worked really hard. And I do have to say about an aside, I digress. I think Vince Ventura, yeah, he mentioned that he's not going to go into Golden Demons anymore because of the same reasons. Because it's all about technical execution, and that's art is an expression, and it's not just about technical execution. It's about the way you use technical execution to express an emotion or feeling that is long lasting and impressionable. So, okay, that's it. I'm out. I teach art too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think he might still be going, but it's like, yeah, if I have time to paint an entry, I'll paint it. If not, then I
Right.
will maybe go to meet the people, and then I just have. I mean, obviously, he paints so much that he will have an entry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll have 15 entries.
Yeah.
uh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just trying to. I forgot what you said. No, sorry. Go on. I
All right.
forgot what.
It's okay. So speaking of achievements, and you've achieved so much, and I know you don't like to be on a pedestal or anything like that, but one, how many awards have you won? And two, what is your biggest achievement to date that you feel like this was the thing that made me feel like, hey, I'm doing something here. Like I've made a difference. I've overcome something, or most impressionable, the most memorable.
I don't have that many awards because I'm mainly focused on Golden Demons, and soon before expanding into different competitions, I kind of decided I don't want to go to any more competitions. So I have, I think it's 14 Golden Demons, and I think 5 of them are gold, and the rest is spread across bronze and silver. But I mean, that's not. I mean, it's gonna sound pretentious, but that's not really an achievement in my eyes because there's people that have 65, and once you kind of crack the code, it has been easier, especially, I mean, during the times that I competed. Once you crack the code, you basically were locked into always scoring high. So I don't take pride in it. The problem is that, of course, it has been, especially in the beginning on my YouTube channel, a selling point because Golden Demon is prestigious, and what do you do to set yourself apart from other painters in a space that is about personality and who is this person and what has he achieved, and you have to have some credibility. Why should people listen to you when you talk about painting on YouTube? Obviously, it has been a good entry point, but it I have always been it has been a bit of a conundrum, and within my personality where I don't care that much about it, but it has been good, yeah, to promote the channel. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't take particular pride in it. I mean, maybe because I had the work ethic to work towards the goal of winning 14 Golden Demons, but it has not been super fulfilling creatively. Let's put it that way. So, which one do you value more, right? In that regard, I don't. It's the same thing like we talked about before, which is my best painted miniature, or which one do I like the best. I don't actually know. I mean, there is. the metric of what has been satisfying. And I think reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube has been satisfying simply because, for the same reason, I tried to put in the work to make the videos more clickable. It's just learning a new skill, basically. It's like learning how to paint. You need to optimize your thumbnails and your titles, and you need to have a better ideas before you even start painting and all of that. So that was kind of satisfying. Not that it means a lot, because subscribers in the current YouTube ecosystem don't matter. It's about reaching new audiences and getting clicks on a video. Yeah, so.
But it is
But
satisfying.
I mean, sure, I would be lying, right? Simply because I put in the work. Anywhere you put in work and you see a result, and whether or not that's just for vanity or monetarily or yeah, whatever is satisfying, right? But the point is that there is a lot of other people doing it, so it's nothing special. But of course, on a personal level, it helps making your life better, and it helps giving you stability and all of that. So yeah, obviously.
Well, everybody loves validation, and having those 100,000 subscribers is that dopamine rush right there. You know, it's like, yeah, look, I am actually doing something. What I'm doing matters to a lot of people, and you know, it's validating what you do. So absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to aim for these like vanity things, but obviously it's a recognition of some sort. Yeah.
You're certainly very, very humble, and that is so endearing, because there's so many people out there that are not, and yeah, that just makes you even more amazing. So,
Thanks.
absolutely. So, do you paint at home? Do you have like your own painting studio, or you set up and you go? So, I know you do the YouTube. So, do you have a room in your house or something like that? How does that work for you? What is your flow?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a story too, right?
Mm.
So we moved in 2019,
Mm.
and we were living in a 56 square meters apartment. I don't know what that is
Wow,
in your
tiny.
metrics. Yeah. And we moved into a flat. We bought a flat.
Mhm.
We were super lucky. It was like before. I mean, prices were super high already, but after that they skyrocketed for several reasons, and we spent everything we had on it. But at least we have it, and we could not afford it today.
Mhm.
But I have now a basement that is as big as our last apartment. I'm super happy about that. Uh, Half of it is my training equipment, so it could be. It feels a bit tight. I mean, obviously, it's how to say. That sounds stupid because if you have like half of 56 square meters available for your hobby, that's awesome. But I'd like to move this table more towards this background,
Mhm.
right? So that I don't have to switch. I have to take another table and put it back there so I have a good backdrop. But then I work here most of the time.
Right.
It's what I'm trying to get at is I wish I knew
Mhm.
what needed when I started. So I guess that makes sense, right? So you never
Sure.
know. 2 years in, your preferences might change, and I just wish I had a bit more foresight. Yeah. So I kind of want to rearrange everything, but I'm super happy with what I have.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I just work here. It's a standing table that I can move up and down simply because I
Oh,
can,
good.
sit up.
That's a good
I
idea.
don't, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't stand all that much when I paint, but I stand sometimes when I edit.
Huh.
But the good thing is I can position it,
Oh, wow.
in different ways, and I can
Right.
move it up or down. So it has helped sitting upright and with posture and not destroying my back. So
Absolutely.
that's the centerpiece, and that's why I need to work here, whether I stream, whether I record. it's so that I don't blow out my back. And
I love
yeah.
that idea. I love that a standing desk. I never thought of that. Wow. Thank you. You
I
improved
mean,
my.
yeah, it's unfortunate it costs a bit, but there is cheaper alternatives out there. Like you can make it smaller. Like if you just have less than half of what I have, then that's gonna be fine already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, what is your process like when you begin painting or organizing your day? If you're gonna have a session of painting, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah. I don't. Again, it's back to whatever. um, I the most productive. It's kind of funny. The most productive. I am the most productive once I have recorded stuff, and then it's just about editing because I know I have a clear vision of what the video should look like. When I start painting, I never have an idea what the miniature is going to look like.
Mhm.
I just like the miniature and then I put paint on it, and sometimes it's like, oh, this looks like crap. I'll never finish this. Well, I mean, obviously that's relative, but I just don't like where it's going. Let's put it that way, right? And sometimes, yeah, new things happen, and then I'm happy. Yeah, so I have a lot of projects that I never finished simply because my process is so weird. But again, to me, my process is that way because I just like to paint and I'm not so focused on finishing. it's it's kind of, how to say, it's kind of unfortunate to have that workflow because I wish I would be having a clear vision, and this is the way that I execute it because it's better to communicate that, if that makes sense.
Right.
The other thing is a bit more ethereal, like what's going on? Why are you doing this? Yeah, just because I'm having fun is a bit weird to communicate.
Yeah.
I often think I don't have many profound things to say if I listen to other people, like on your show too. I'm thinking, yeah, that's profound. That's some wisdom right there, and I'm just like, what is this? Interesting. Yeah, let's put it on a base, and then I'll just, I don't know. Um, Hold on. So, I mean, those are the last two things I based. I don't know if you can see it, but
Okay.
that's an Imperial Guard dude.
Mhm.
And I knew I wanted to paint him, and then what am I doing for a base? So I glued on the little tactical rock that he had,
Mhm.
and then I said, no, that's not working. So I cut it off again, and I put it on this thing, and then on this thing before he even was attached to the base. And then he had two rocks on his foot, and I'm like, okay, that's an awesome pose. So what's the base that's going to go with it? And then I just built the rest. Put some cork on so I had the right elevation.
Mhm.
And then for this one, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I can send you pictures and then you can
Oh, I can
do
see
them.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a chaos dude.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm super proud of this one because it's a very basic base. It's just milliput that I press the blister sponge in, and then there's some skulls here.
Mhm.
But he has the pose. So he was supposed to stand flat, but I elevated that foot by 5 millimeters,
Uh-huh.
and the pose looks so much more awesome, so much more
Absolutely.
menacing. And those are the things that I enjoy doing, and they just happen, right? It's not like if I change that angle by 10 degrees, so that's not happening in my brain, right?
Mhm.
Up front. I just take everything and then I spend an hour posing it, and I try to find out what the best pose is, and then it makes sense to elevate that foot by 5 millimeters, and then I lock it in.
Right.
So that's my process, right? I just take all the elements that I have, I throw them together, I discard them, I take new ones, and it's very chaotic. It's chaotic.
Uh, I
That's my
went
point.
I went to a teaching session with Banshee, and
Uh-huh.
he said, "Touch your paint," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
So I'm like, "Touch my yeah with your hand, just touch your paint. Yeah,
yeah.
now mix it together. Stop being afraid.
Hmm.
Play, play,
Yeah.
have fun, do, and it was so profound. It's like, wait a second, I have to do things a certain way and I have to be regimented at a certain. No, art isn't like that. Sometimes it's an amalgamation of this. And you just throw ideas together and say, hey, I like this more. And I think this works even more. But like the chaos guy, yeah, absolutely looks more aggressive. It looks like it's leaning forward to attack. So yeah, absolutely. And it works. So yeah. And some of the part is like starting with a goal in mind. And your goal is that you did the base of the Astra Militarum guy. And you knew that the rocks had to be in a certain way. And then now that you have your goal, what are you going to do to build around that? So, it totally makes sense. Absolutely. Because that is art. So there's nothing weird about that. That is just the process of art. It is messy. It is thrown together. It's a whole bunch of inspiration mixed with technique and skill. So there it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, again.
No, sorry. It's So if you have small goals, or like if you have a tiny bit of a vision, and then the rest just comes into reality. I don't know how else to say it, but you have that small goal, and then you just build everything else around that on the fly, then that's good too, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the other thing is you mentioned Banshee, and obviously he is a big advocate of trying to propel or elevate what we do more into an art status, and I'm the complete opposite. It's like I don't really care if it's art. I guess the question is, do you want to be recognized, or do you need the external validation, or does it have to be art for you to feel validated, right? So that's the questions that I ask myself when I think about whether or not what I'm doing is art, and I don't think it is. Maybe for whatever reasons, it's just me trying to have fun with things. It's basically Art Attack, right? If you know that show.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it feels sometimes the end result, you can pretend that you're an artist, but it's not. It hasn't happened that way for me, at least.
It will. I mean, I think it definitely will. I mean, if not, you reach a point where you're having fun and you realize you having fun is art. That's part of the process, And if you're having fun, if you're not having fun, what are you doing, right? So you should do something you should have fun with. Life is too short. So if you're having fun with art, then there it is. So let's see. What experience? From your experience, what were the most difficult techniques to learn to master? Like painting eyes, blending, shadows, metals. Which technique is the hardest for you?
Yeah, I have a cookie cutter answer for that because it comes up a lot. So sorry if that's repetitive, but
You're fine.
the best thing to learn about techniques is not to think in techniques. I mean, obviously, you could say painting eyes needs to be executed a certain way simply because we have a mental representation of how eyes look, and if it looks off, then you failed. All right, quote unquote failed in communicating that this is an eye. But if we dial it back a bit and not think about particular details, then not thinking in techniques has helped a lot. So I'm not thinking in, okay, I need to dry brush all of this miniature, but maybe I'm dry brushing a certain part and then I'm doing something else to it. Like I'm glazing over it, or I'm applying a wash over it. And then I'm putting another highlight in simply because I wanted maybe the particular look that dry brushing gives, but I want to add to that. So what is the technique called at that point, right? Is it dry brush, glaze, washing?
An amalgamation.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? So you are combining a lot of ways to use your brush into a result, and you're not doing that particular technique, right? So it's of course, when you start out, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear, okay, there is 5 techniques that you can apply, and this might be the result that you get.
Hmm.
But what if you combine both techniques, or 3 techniques, or 5 techniques? Okay, so the result might be even better. But no one can describe that to you when you're starting out. It's easier to describe 5 techniques. It's also a good thumbnail.
Right. Yeah,
5
that's right.
techniques that, yeah, that changed my painting forever. And
Right.
it's actually a bit of a lie. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's leaving out details. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. The omission of, but yeah, I think you're right. People like small numbers, so this way they can achieve great results. And the truth is, there are so many different techniques out there, and like you say, I combine several as well. And yeah, it's just not locking into one technique and then the next technique. It's tools in a toolbox. And what tool do you want to use to achieve your goal next? And what other tool do you want to achieve? You don't have 5 tools in your toolbox, right? Because there are different scenarios you come up with. You need different tools. So you just keep on adding and learning and learning. One of the reasons I really love Vince Ventura's hobby cheating videos, because it's like, all right, what technique I'm going to try today, or what am I going to try to push today, and I'll just go to the next technique and the next technique, and I'll just keep on adding. But yeah, it's an amalgamation for sure.
And I don't want to. So sometimes it feels like you're talking, or we are talking down on people not wanting to learn, or not wanting to put in the time. It's totally understandable in a way, right? If you can learn a technique that will speed something up, then that's a valid wish to have, especially if we want to paint a lot of minis. Yeah, but it eventually. So I always talk about you are getting faster by getting better.
Yes.
It's a thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you feel comfortable with a technique, the only way to go, you plateau, but at the same time, you just become faster at that technique because you know it internalizes.
Yeah, and you sometimes when you combine 2 things, you're faster than just doing one thing. It's
True.
kind of funny, right, how that works, but
Sure.
you
Um,
have to try it and kind of think about it. And I don't know, you don't have to master it, but you have to spend a certain time with it, upfront investment to be faster in the end. So that's the question, if you want to do that upfront investment, right?
I remember when I started or restarted painting because I took a break from it. I know that it took me 3 months to do one miniature because I was learning techniques and applying it. I do the same miniature in three days right now, and that's for local competitions. Like, and it doesn't take me long because some of it is muscle memory. Some is like I know how to attack it because most of that time was spent like, well, how do I achieve this goal? Okay, let me do some research on it. Okay, let me practice that technique. Let me get comfortable with technique. Okay, now I'm going to apply it to the miniature, and then it goes on from there, one technique at a time. It's like this area needs this. How do I achieve this? And do the research, and it just takes so much time. But now it's like I look at a mini and it tells me, like, I know how to attack it. Like, okay, I want this and I want that. I want the light over here. This is where the light's spacing. Okay. Even sometimes I take a picture in a dark room and I just put a light on exactly where I want to. So this way I look at the black and white picture and I was like, all right, there are the highlights. No problem.
Yeah, that's actually, you said, I'm doing this on a miniature. I'm quoting, not exactly, but rephrasing.
You're fine.
Doing this, or I want this on a miniature. What do I have to do to get there?
Right.
It's not like I'm doing this technique, and hopefully it's going to get me there. Right. So
Right.
that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And then everything else you said, right, is just plays into that. Like when you change lighting, it gives you a new idea. Yeah.
Absolutely. See, you're not too far off. We all do it. Yeah.
Not everyone, but once you start thinking about painting a lot more beyond techniques, then that is what happens. I guess that sums it up really nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's give some advice. If someone is starting out in the hobby, what advice would you give them?
It all depends what your goals are. That's the
It's true.
unfortunate truth,
Yeah,
right? So, do you want to make a more precise statement? Does that make sense in this context?
sure.
Like, if someone starts the hobby wanting to get better at painting, is that maybe a good focus?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, if you start the hobby with playing in mind, it's might probably not be your focus to get better at painting.
right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what we talked about it, right? It's just summing it up. Trying to have fun with the process and not being locked in a process. Like this is the way you have to do it, otherwise it looks crap. Is not
Right,
the way to go here.
right,
And on the way, just learn as much as possible. And you can definitely start by learning techniques and calling them techniques and doing them one by one. But don't be afraid to play outside or work outside of the playbook. So that's why I'm super unhappy with how YouTube works at the moment. And I think we are moving, at least I'm trying to move away, because a lot of YouTube videos are how to do X. And
yeah,
in fact, it's only how that person is doing X.
right,
It's not the best way. There is no best way. There is only the best way to do something is doing it the way you like it. You enjoy both the process and the end result.
right.
But that doesn't get clicks
I know.
because that's not how our brains work.
Unfortunately, yeah. So okay, you're working all day, unlike me with my project for the Tau, 3 years. How do you battle fatigue? Do you get like really tired of something, and how do you do this? Or is everything like a playground? Like everything is just fun and that's it? Or do you get fatigue? How do you push through?
I guess I'm privileged when it comes to that because all I do is just painting the next miniature that I like. So I have a lot of variety in what I do. So I always joke that I never paint the same miniature twice, which is probably true. I think I did it once for a video, like not too long ago with the Votan. Painted the same mini. Oh yeah, and before that I did a comparison of non-metallic metal and metallics.
Mm-hmm.
And I painted the same skeleton, but before that I don't remember painting the same mini or even a similar mini twice. So I'm privileged. I just do what I want to do. If I had to or wanted to paint an army, that would be different, probably. So if I wanted to do that, I might get burned out on doing the same thing over and over. But maybe a good way is to just come up with a process that still allows you to have fun and to maybe switch up your approach from mini to mini a tiny bit. Like maybe you apply the base coat in batch painting, and then you apply shades or yeah, a shadow color, a shade color, and for some you just switch up that shade color.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as that, so that you have different results in that alone, and or maybe a highlight color, or maybe you have a squad that is more that is less weathered than the other one, so that's just reinforcements that came in, right? So that you can try new things, new approaches, new ways to weather them or not weather them at all. That's stuff that I would do,
Yeah.
that I could see myself doing. In my reality, I just whenever I feel like I get fatigued with something, I just put it down and do something else.
Right.
But to just expand on that, it could be as simple as just building a few bases, or building another show base, even without a miniature. Just trying to tell a story with a base, or doing switching from fantasy to science fiction. So those are the things that I'm privileged enough to be able to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know with the Tao, I learned how to write Japanese, and I am writing different phrases on the backs, the backpacks, and doing some graffiti, doing some freehand wherever I possibly can, changing up some things, and none of over 100 infantry. None of them are exactly the same. I had to change up each one, but you're right. I do the same thing. I have to change it up. I can't paint the exact same thing over and over again because I get bored really quickly.
I mean, it's how to say that? Like, the of course the 40K. I'm taking 40K for example.
Hmm.
World is different from our reality, but if you look at a war zone and you look at soldiers, is every soldier going to look exactly the same way?
No way.
I mean, they're going to have patches that you know. I mean, obviously, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Like maybe fascist environment that 40K is for Space Marines, for example. Everyone has to look the same, and
Mm.
they're clones. And, I mean, they're not clones, but basically they're clones. Um, yeah, so it might be different, but still, right? They might find their individuality because they're on a crusade for 100 years, and
Right.
but yeah, certainly in reality, not every soldier looks the same in an army.
Right, because they have different experiences and different chips of paint in different areas that tell stories. Maybe a shot that they took in the arm and another one took one in the stomach. Yeah, like all kinds of things
Yeah.
that you could change up.
So why should your fantasy science fiction army look exactly the same like every single soldier? Like that's something I never understood, for example. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So, where do you get your inspiration from?
Um. Yeah. I mean, could be everywhere. So I like to just watch movies, and that's or so my main inspiration is artwork. It doesn't have to be 40K artwork. It can be whatever artwork. There's so many artists out there that have new ideas. Yeah, especially with digital, right? Painting. There are just new sketches, new artworks out there all the time. So that's what I'm mainly looking at. And then I'm just trying to take elements that are new and refreshing and I try to put them in miniatures. But yeah, movies used to be an inspiration for a long time, like Event Horizon for Demons, for example, would be, yeah, or yeah, but mainly artworks. Just looking at other artists and what they're doing, and not necessarily other painters.
What I've done is I love photography and videography, and I go out there and just take a walk and take pictures of things and see how light playing on things, reflections on water, for example, and then add water in my base, or looking at rust and taking it. And people think I'm weird because I'm taking a picture of a rusty, like say a trash can or something like that, and but it really does play into it, especially when I want to like paint a barrel that's rusting in a 40K environment or something like that. I also play Age of Sigmar. Do you play with your minis at all? Do you still play? Do you have time to do that?
To just expand on that, just looking at references is a good thing in general.
Mm.
If you don't, if you're not, if you're looking for a particular look, or if you want to replicate a particular look, then just look at something that is exists in reality, because that's what our brains are used to, looking at reality. And if you try to copy that on your miniature, that's good. So that's referring to you going out and taking pictures of rusty things, or how I don't know, toucans fall over and how they rest, right? If you want to build a base, that's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer your question, which I forgot, can you repeat it?
Do you play with your miniatures? Do you have time for
Oh,
games?
no. Mm-mm.
No, yeah, no, I can imagine.
I I used to play Confrontation
Oh, okay.
back in 2007, 8, 9, roughly that time frame. But I stopped when that game dissolved. community dissolved, then I just did not play anything else. No.
Do you have any projects that you're working for different companies for box art or something like that? Or do you have any exciting projects to share for this soon?
I don't work for others.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good in that environment. I accepted 2 commissions in my life, and I both sent them back because I couldn't do it. It's partly because, or that is one reason why I like YouTube and being able to do what I do, because I mean, the closest thing that I'm doing to that is doing sponsorships, obviously, like sponsored videos or video segment. I don't even do sponsored videos because I would have to paint something that I might not want to paint for a video. I just do the segments, and of things that I personally use or can endorse. And that's the closest thing to working for others, because they have a brief for you, obviously, and they tell you what you need to say. But I don't do box arts, and I don't do commissions. And in that regard, I'm super boring because
You're
I'm not
fine.
involved. No, I'm not involved with any companies or stuff like that. And as far as project goes, I also like to sculpt my own minis, obviously. I don't have a lot of time for that. But what I'm working on right now, that is maybe the most exciting, at least for me it is new additions to my miniature range. It's actually mostly busts and large scale. So yeah, I have this science fiction setting that is mostly about androids and robots
Love it.
and sentient robots that I'm trying to flesh out a bit more, but I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of time.
So you ever think about creating your own game?
Not game, but obviously it's intriguing to create your own universe,
Yeah,
and tell your own stories. Yeah.
absolutely. That's amazing. Um, so you mentioned it earlier. I was going to ask you if you have any other creative hobbies. So you sculpt as well as paint.
Yeah, I mentioned in the beginning it has been a progression from starting to dry brush pre-painted minis. Eventually, you find better minis, but you also kind of realize that you are boxed in, and maybe you want to do conversions simply to tell the story you want to tell a bit better than what is in front of you, what is already available. So I've been doing like minis where I sculpted an arm, or a leg, or a midsection, or new iconography or whatever. And then eventually I said, okay, I want to do my own minis, simply because then I can control everything that's going on the miniature when I later painted. And I've been working for a few companies. I've been doing sculpts for a few companies, yes. But and that's maybe the most satisfying part, creating something from scratch, from absolutely zero. But it also doesn't get clicks. So
Now,
yeah. Sorry, just one last thing
sure.
to that. I've been doing a lot of research about YouTube and what's doing well on YouTube. There is a lot of sculpting channels that do really well, but first of all, they're just fast. They're not particularly intriguing as far as detail goes, or correct anatomy and all of that. And they're pop culture. So if you're doing pop culture sculpts, then that's good. Proxies for Warhammer, or a new Batman movie comes out, you sculpt Batman and it's going to do well. But if you have your own IP, that's not gonna do well on YouTube. And also sales are not super great if people don't know you and all that. So it's tricky, right? What are you doing? You cannot do something that you love if it doesn't make you money, as unfortunate as that is. So yeah. When I focused on YouTube more, I I did a lot more painting again, simply because that's a more attractive thing to people.
Now, do you do you sculpt with like pro sculpt, or do you do digitally? Do you have STLs?
Yeah, I like to do analogus. How do you say that?
Analogous.
Yeah, not 3D in any case,
Okay.
not digital.
Right.
Simply because I want to feel the clay with my hands. Again, we're back to the process is more enjoyable than the finished product for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you offer? I know you teach on YouTube, but do you offer any like in-person painting classes? Have you ever done that?
I did that. It's super fun, but it's also so when I'm ready, when I have the class assigned and I can jump in and teach, then that's perfect. But I'm super hung up on creating the didactics and the examples and what I need to, how I need to structure a class and all of that. I'm kind of hung up on that at the moment.
Oh,
I'm trying to design like two classes, one about brush control and one about composition and color theory and all of that. That I then eventually might want to take on the road and go to wherever people want me to. But yeah, so once I'm at the teaching stage, it's fun. But I don't know how that is for you. But
lesson planning.
yeah, exactly. Right. So
Yeah.
that what takes the most time for me always.
Yeah.
Um, mhm.
Yeah. There are times where people ask me, it's like, well, how long do you plan for a lesson? Like students would ask me, it's like, how long do you take to plan for a lesson? And I'm like, a lot longer than the length of the lesson. Like a lot longer. So if it's like a 45-minute class, like I'm a couple of hours, you know? So, so yeah, that is a lot of work, but the execution once you're prepared, is amazing. Yeah, I totally agree.
It's fun to compare lessons where you're kind of winging it. And then something that you maybe taught already where you prepared for a long time and then you teach it again because even when you're prepared and you taught it once,
Mhm.
you're going to see every plan is just as good as when it hits reality.
Right.
And then you adapt it and the next time it's even better, and those are the most satisfying classes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in a way it's the same for painting classes, obviously. Yeah.
I always start with the goal in mind. This is what I want to achieve, and backwards
Yeah, sure.
mapping. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
you have to be aware about what do you want the students to learn, what do you want them to take away from that, and then you can only structure activities around it. Yeah.
I would definitely love if you were anywhere near my part of the woods to take a class with you, sir. For sure. Um,
Yeah.
so you admitted that it was a organic process to how you paint. Is there, and you're talking about color theory. So how do you choose a color scheme?
Yeah. The That's why I don't want to make it like, okay, guys, here's a color wheel, and do you know what a triad is?
Yes.
It's picking three colors,
Right.
and because that's not
Ridiculous.
really how it works.
Right.
Kind of, but it doesn't really work that way. The closest thing to a teaching method that I would like to do is like gamut masks. I don't know if you know that. Probably know it, right?
Uh, Gradients.
That's no, that's Gurney. What's his name? The one
Oh,
that did Dinotopia.
Dan Gurney. Yeah, I have his book. Literally, I have his book right here aside of me.
James
James
James Gurney.
Gurkey. Yeah. Oh.
James Gurney. Yeah. He has this thing called gamut masks. I don't know if he was the one that came up with it, but it became popular. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it might not be in that one.
And this one here.
Might not be in that one. Oh,
Yeah.
it might be in both, but just as a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah.
But he expanded on it on his website. It's where you limit yourself. It could be a triangle that you lay over
James.
a color wheel. So you have the color wheel, okay? in the middle, and then you add black and white, like black on the outside and
Mhm.
white in the middle, and or the other way around, whatever you want, right? Basically, the idea is to limit yourself in what you have available, and then how do you change it up within that pool of paints. That's something that creates compelling color recipes, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Not using primary color this, primary color that, primary
Right.
color. And then where do I place it on? I mean, that's not color theory. It's about limiting, in my opinion, and it's about limiting yourself to a couple of colors and understanding how they work together. Yeah, that's the main thing.
And the way I think about that is when you're painting, right? You limit your hand movements. So this way you get details. You know, you brace your hand in certain different ways. So limiting your color palette is the same kind of exercise, but just doing it with color. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's
But
a
yeah,
nice analogy, kind of. Yeah.
yeah, and I love James Gurney. I love. So when you start a new piece, what inspires you for the miniature? You don't have really a plan, but how do you choose the next project? Like what calls to you? Is there something in particular?
Most of the times it's just Space Marines. I want to paint that Space Marine.
Another one?
Yeah. Another one. I want to paint all of them. It's funny. Why is that? I think because the shapes are kind of straightforward,
Hmm.
but you can still do a lot with them. So if you want to paint the knee pad, you can do that in 10 different ways, probably more. And then you add different colors and different bases, and the bases have different colors, so they influence your main colors a bit different. I, it might not appear to people that Space Marines are a canvas for a lot of different things, but they are. Yeah. And I said I'm doing robots. I'm looking over there because I said I'm a visual person and all my painted stuff is in the cabinet over there.
Hmm.
So that's why sometimes I will look there. Yeah, robots. So I guess I just like shapes, geometric shapes, or somewhat geometric shapes. That's why I also like Necrons. Yeah, I don't think I paint a lot of organic things now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I guess I just like the geometry and regularity of shapes.
I find organic things to be liberating because there's no exact patterns, no hard angles or anything like that. So I can literally just make mistakes and it turns out really great. So happy little mistakes.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that 100%, and I agree that it's absolutely liberating to be able to just work. I'm just looking for something that would embody this that I
Mm.
painted, but I can't find it. Yeah, so just not being confined to how light would interact with that geometric shape, because if we are honest about it, if we pick one light source that's exactly here and the shape is here, then
Mhm.
there is one quote unquote correct way to interact with it, and that's not what we want to teach.
Right. Right.
Because then people get hung up with that or on that, and then brain
Right.
freeze. And yeah, and organic stuff kind of doesn't box you in to that as much. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of my palate cleanser. If I'm doing and I'm starting to burn out, I was like, you know what? I'll take a project on the side. It's organic. I'm going to learn how to do hair or do, an object or a Nurgle painting or something like that. So
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah. Personally, I'm just not like that. I'm just weird.
no, that's all right. We're all weird. That's what makes us love art because we like the gray area in between. We like to mix things up. We like to change things up. So, and in a way, that makes us a little avant-garde to be leaders in community because everybody is in their boxes and they're too afraid to take the step out. But we have the courage to just match things together, change things up, revolutionize things. And I think that's why art is so important. So, yeah, never apologize. Be weird, be yourself. I mean, that's who you are and you're amazing. So,
And even if you're kind of mainstream, that's fine too, right? I like to paint Space Marines, and no one else can tell me, that's kind of boring. I mean, it might be to you, but it's not to me. So,
no.
yeah, even if you don't revolutionize painting Space Marines, and yeah, that's still fine, right?
Oh, I love your Grimdark series. Like, really, that's amazing.
Yeah, if I would just be doing that, honestly, but I need to switch it up from time to time
Right.
because it kind of gets stale on YouTube. It's like, oh, I've seen that before, just with a different color, and they're totally right, man. Just
Right.
need another inspiration to teach something new with that, or to find a new approach. Yeah. So
Speak
I'm spacing them out, even though personally I could just paint 10 chapters in a row doing that. Sorry.
spacing them out. I got it.
Yeah.
Do you have any personal, like a trick or a hack that you would like to do that makes it a little easier for you to approach painting?
Do I have a hack that makes it easier for me to paint minis? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Do you have something that, at first you struggled with and then now it's like, oh, okay, this is easy. What am I fretting over? Like an epiphany, possibly.
That's a good question, but I can't remember anything.
Okay.
It's and if I had, I probably forgot until the next mini, until I encounter it again, simply because I don't write anything down. Um, I should, but I'm not doing that. I don't write down like color recipes and stuff like that, or shortcuts that I found that I might forget until next time. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a really good question, but I don't have any. Nothing clicks at the moment.
That's fine. Sometimes I just record a video and I put the paints that I put on the video, and I don't write things down either. I kind of, because I'm writing so much down for work, I don't want to write anything down. I just watch the video again. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I did that. So it's like a video log of how I paint. If I want to remember recipes.
Oh, yeah, I do that a lot too. Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Maybe because I have the video and I show like the colors anyway. If I need a refresher, I just go back to it.
so there's a hack itself. If you really want to remember your videos and you really think about writing things down, start a YouTube channel and see what happens.
Yeah, obsessed over editing and spend hours
Yeah,
that you could have, yeah, just used to write down the paint. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a
It's a good
fan.
idea.
I am a fan of your editing skills, though. You are really good. That is amazing.
I see. I don't consider myself good at all. I just no. The thing is, I would like to edit a lot more. Kind of the way that what Squidmar has going on, not like
Mm,
not have like a something pop up all the time, like "Phew," sound effect, this that. But sometimes I will, because of time reasons, because I haven't uploaded in 3 weeks already, and I could spend one more week on that, but it's just not how it works. But yeah, just these small tricks that make your video that much more engaging and a tiny bit more funny, maybe in the moment.
mhm.
I'm trying to get there at the moment, just improving my workflow and being able to squeeze that into. I mean, ultimately, it's the same with painting. It doesn't matter what you do, whatever creative outlet you have, you're constantly trying to make it better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so
So much wasted time.
it's not
That
wasted. It's not
I mean, it
wasted.
is. It is and it isn't, because it's not evident to a viewer that you did research. Um, it's like the whole. It comes out as, oh, I wish I was as talented as you with painting, and you're like, yeah, I mean, everyone can be talented if you're doing it for 20 years. No, I could never do what you do,
Right.
and I really don't feel all that talented with anything I do. Um, I guess I was kind of talented at throwing a ball, but everything else I worked for, which is not really visible. In the, I mean, not, I mean, obviously, it looks proficient and professional, but it doesn't reflect the amounts of years you put into this. Yeah, whether it's editing or painting or whatever.
Well, I mean, you get those people that edit videos themselves and they'll look at your channel and they can see all the hard work you put into it. Yeah.
They can definitely see the improvement. Yeah, if I look at my first videos, I'm like, oh my god,
Oh,
just
yeah.
stop.
And for me, like my miniatures, I leave all my first videos. I don't touch them. I don't retouch them or anything like that. That is my progression, and I only can judge myself on my past videos. So it's the same kind of concept with painting, but it's just with video editing. It is in and itself, it can be an art as well. And it's really, really hard to video edit it the right way. Okay, let's get back on to minis. How long would it take you to complete a standard 32-inch miniature?
I hate that question because as little as I write down color recipes, I don't look at a watch when I'm painting.
Mm.
And I had a funny incident where I showed a screenshot or I snapped a quick work in progress shot, and then it showed my monitor and it showed a video, and people were like, did you get clickbaited? Because it was something like, how did this and that, blah, 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 some clickbait title. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was on. It was just playing because I started maybe a music video or whatever, and then I just listened to it and autoplay was on, and then it just progressed, and suddenly this video came up that I probably didn't even want to watch, but I didn't even realize, right? So when I'm in the zone, it's like, I have no idea how much time I spent on this. It's again, it's an unfulfilling answer. It doesn't, but that's just the way it is. It depends, yeah. So if I paint for a video, let's put it that. If I paint something for a video where I want to teach something, it's probably like, because I have to record it, it's probably like 8 hours, 4 to 8 hours, you can say, for whatever I paint for a video. I think that's the closest to being able to tell how, yeah.
And
It's a competition, it's hundreds of hours.
Sure. Yeah. And then there's sometimes where I'll start painting and it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon for me. And I have these studio lights. So my brain doesn't tell it's night. I can't. It just seems like bright day all day. So I've done all night and then wake up in the morning. Well, not wake up in the morning, just see the sunrise and look at the time and realize I've been in a chair for 10 hours or 12 hours and everything hurts now. I need to stop. I have to tell my brain to stop. But yeah, no, totally. When I get in the zone, yeah, nothing else seems to matter or exist except for the total concentration. And that's part of the hobby that I love because, for mental health and stuff like that, if you're going through something and you need a break, some people, they have alcohol addictions and all other kind of drug addictions. This is my drug of choice. This painting is my drug of choice, and it's harmless and it's positive and it's productive. It's what I do to escape from all that. Some people do yoga. I paint. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I absolutely. So obviously anything, I mean, painting can be addicting too.
Yeah.
So back when I started teaching the first few years, not the first year, say the second year, I got back into painting and I painted a lot and I painted during the night and all of that. And then students were asking me, so I saw them like years after I taught them. And then they had the courage to ask me a couple of things. And they said, you are not opposed to smoking a joint, right, Professor? And I said, I have never smoked a joint in my life. What are you talking about? Yeah, but your eyes, they were always red. And I said, yeah, that's just because I painted all night. So I can totally relate.
Oh my gosh. Oh, how I can relate. My
So
painting addiction. Oh my gosh. Do you I mean I put out a video having the biggest backlog in all of YouTube because I have more boxes than a store. And that's my addiction right there. So, do you have a backlog? Do you have like a huge part of unpainted minis? You're looking at uncompleted work.
no, uh, I don't know if I can move the camera, but it basically looks the same over there.
Yeah.
Um, but that's mainly because I mean, obviously I buy too much, but the quote unquote problem is, I mean, obviously I'm complaining about something that I should be really happy about. Games Workshop is sending me all these boxes,
Oh, that's amazing.
and yeah, and I'm super happy about that because if I make a video and I don't have a sponsor, it makes $120 maybe if it gets 60,000 views.
Hmm.
And if I have to buy a box that's
Cuts into it.
150, then it's like okay, I'm spending money on you know more money than I'm getting, which again, it's not about getting rich, but that's a minus. Obviously, I can't pay my rent with minus 30 euro on my bank account.
Right.
It's just the way it is. But so I'm happy about that. It saves me a lot of money creating the videos, so I don't have that much upfront investment. Um, but eventually, I asked them not to send me as much. So they used to send me every single 40K release.
Wow.
And I said, please don't do that because I can't use it for videos. Please send it to someone else. Someone else is probably going to be happy about that. So now they're only, quote unquote, only sending me the big box releases like Soul Shackle and Into the Dark and whatever.
Nice.
But they're piling up too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And then on top of that, like the Chaos Warriors, obviously they didn't send me these because I mostly get 40K. So I bought these, and now I have a box lying there because of one single Chaos Warrior that I wanted to paint. So that's my problem, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
I usually sorry, just when I'm painting single figures, there's still a whole box that's gonna end up lying somewhere. That's my problem.
um so one of the things that I well, one of the things that I wanted to ask is if you have any uh things that are coming up in the future that you're really proud of that you could share with everybody, like in your videos. Like if you could do a do series coming up, what are you working on currently?
Honestly, that's not how I work. Like we established, I just go from idea to idea,
Hmm.
which is kind of bad from a marketing standpoint. Like I don't know, I'm pretty sure Squidmar has ideas backed up all the way, and he's a marketing expert. And
Yes.
he I don't know. I don't have a I don't have brushes coming out. I don't have an airbrush coming out. I don't want to sell you things. I just want to make videos and hopefully inspire. So that's I don't have plans into the future. Um,
S-
I just hope I stay inspired enough to make videos that people click. So my main
Absolutely.
focus is still on coming up with ideas that will translate well to videos without selling myself out or
Sure.
changing too much
Yeah.
from what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, don't sell your soul, definitely. But a lot of people don't realize this is your job. This is what you do. So you always have to be mindful about budgeting and everything else and your time and investment and your return on that investment. That's definitely something. So if anybody wants to become a YouTuber full time, realize that you have to be really good at economics and balance. And yeah, that's really important.
Uh, you also need to be aware if you want to be like a YouTuber, you have to be aware or think about whether what you want to do is going to be what people want to watch.
Hmm.
And if what you want to do is not what people want to watch, whether or not you want to change for that. Um, so that's a how do you say a warning?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find the balance and then you still find on views and you're still not selling yourself, which is what I'm trying to do at the moment, then that's perfect. But you definitely need to make some compromises if you want to grow on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting your brand out there, let's remind the audience of all the things, and I'll have links down in the description if you want to read it. But what are all the things you're into? The Patreon, you got YouTube, obviously, you got Twitch, I think, and I'm not big on
Yeah.
Twitch.
No, I'm not either.
Okay.
It's a bit, Twitch is a lot about personality, and obviously my personality is not super accessible. And my humor is too dry. Yeah, I stutter a lot because it's not my main language. Yeah, I have filler words like I need to cut these out constantly. But Twitch is more about personality, right? And I'm not good with that. It's like when teaching, after years, students come back to me and they say, you know what, you were the person I learned the most from, but I couldn't appreciate it because maybe others were more fun or whatever. It's not like I'm not having fun, but my humor is dry. It's like I need to play off of someone, and I sometimes do that with students, and then it's super fun. Yeah, but I can't do the one person on camera being funny. That's not my thing.
No.
So, but Twitch has to be that. You have to be a personality, right? So it's more like a. That's why I can't be big on Twitch. Long story short. But yeah, I have obviously the YouTube, and then of course there's Patreon content. So I could not do YouTube without people on Patreon, and I always try to make extra content for them, for the supporters there. Then I have Twitch, I obviously Instagram, and that's about it. I still run the Facebook page, but it has been so hard to grow on Facebook. Funnily enough, I had 1,900 interactions on the last post, like likes. Before that, I used to have like 15. So I don't know, maybe something changed with Facebook. But yeah, those are my main outlets.
That's awesome. And I'll put a link in the description down below. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom?
Yeah, thanks for putting up the links. Obviously,
Absolutely.
helps. Wisdom? No, I don't. I'm not a wise person. I just happen to have spent time with something I enjoy, and I've been in situations that people are in at the moment, so I have some advice for them how I mastered these situations, or at least survived in these situations, or that's how I grew through these situations. I guess that's, yeah. So I don't have any wisdom to share. Just don't be afraid. Just do what's fun. Don't think too much about outside influences or what others think. If you're like us, you're spending a lot of time with these plastic toy soldiers, and you should spend that time so it's fun for you, and everything else doesn't matter.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And that's very wise advice.
It's just, again, it has helped to, it has spared me a lot of headache. Let's put it that way. It's just something I do to survive, and I think in that it becomes a good advice for others. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us here, the Miniatures Paintbrush. It is an honor to have you on. You're so prolific, and we really appreciate that you had this time to spend with us. You are absolutely amazing. I am a total fan. I ogle over your work, and you are an inspiration to me, which you are an inspiration to many. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and a toast to your success. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It was fun to talk to you, and I always like new perspectives. And a lot of the time, it's like it's the same questions all over. So it was definitely something refreshing to talk to you. Yeah,
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye. A huge thank you to Troverion for spending some time with us today. And if you'd like to follow Troverion, check down. All of his links are in the description below. Keep being fabulous, and may your backlog get ever smaller.
You can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system.